time for that good old Zadvice and coffee. What's up? Let me post this. I'm going to pin this comment here. If you're watching on IG Live, you should see it. Today's comment or today's topic is for coaches specifically. And I had a comment come in or a question come in from Kat in my DMs, and she was asking me all about her program. She's a fitness coach, and she was asking me about, what type of program she should sell. She has a few different types of programs that go all the way from, like digital courses to private coaching and everything in between. She wanted to get some clarity on what type of program she should sell. So before we get into that today, I want to say hey to everyone. What's going on? Dave, what's going on? Gareki Fit, what's going on? Kanye, what's going on? Kanye in the house. What up? Rima, Fidovian, what's going on? Once you come in, make sure that you announce where you're watching from. I always love to see where everyone is tuning in from. Give me a wave if it's your first time in here. Like, you can give me some hearts or say hey in the chat box as well. As always, this is being streamed live on Instagram, which I'm doing these pretty much every day. And then they're being reposted on IGTV, on YouTube, and on Facebook, so you can catch them there. And if you have any questions or comments, or you have ideas for additional topics that you want me to cover, make sure to leave them in the comments on those platforms, or you can DM me at DiPiazza on Instagram. So, what up in Honduras, Milwaukee? What is up? I love to see that the big spread. As you guys know, I'm in LA here. It is a fairly sunny day. And I don't think you've seen this cardigan in a while, have you? It's time for the cardigan. It's time for the coffee. The lo-fi is at just the right temperature. What's going on in Maryland? And let's get to it today. I have several notes for you guys. So today's live stream is specifically about coaches, or specifically for coaches. And as you guys know, I coach entrepreneurs. I work with both individuals and companies. And over the years, I've learned all about how to transmit what is in my head and put it in someone else's head. And the key here is that it's not just about transmitting the information, it's about helping people to transform their lives and their businesses. And it's not always as easy as you would think. What up, Kyle? What's going on, brother? You just destroyed me in jiu-jitsu this morning. Hello. So, basically there are, different ways to deliver or transmit information when you're working with people. And especially now in an increasingly digital world, there are lots of different tools out there to do just that. And so the first thing we have to think of is, what are the different ways in fact, before we even go into that, let's think about the different niches that coaches are in typically. So if you're a coach and you're working with people either, digitally or in person, there are a few different types of niches you can go into that typically have some sort of pull in the marketplace, okay? Those niches, and there's probably more than this, but these are the top ones off the top of my head I can think of. So, love, sex, and relationships is one niche, okay? Fitness and health is a niche. I think you could probably clump in beauty with that, so health, fitness, and beauty. They're separate, but they're related. You also have the make money niche, so business as a niche. And then you also have like kind of the spirituality, law of attraction, like, affirmations, meditations, those types of niches. And so obviously those are very broad categories. But they are categories in which many of the online coaches and consultants are working in nowadays, and they're very hot. So these are niches that typically make money. So again, love, sex, and relationships, which might be all three different niches. And of course, in all of these niches, you can drill down. So like love, sex, and relationships, you could be very specific on what types of relationships you want to work with. You can be very specific about, who you want help with their sex issues. You can be very specific about what you want to do in that space. But that is a space. Health, fitness, and beauty. You can even take off beauty from that and just say health and fitness. There's a lot of different types of health and fitness coaches. There's a wide range between being a health coach and being an athletic trainer. But in that space, there's room to figure out where you fit. Beauty is a different coach or consultant. And then, of course, you have the business coaching, which is the make money niche. And even in that space, there are lots of different types of business coaches. People who just work with real estate agents, people who are going to teach you about e-commerce, people who will teach you about doing stuff online, personal branding. There's lots of different types of business coaching. Then, of course, there's the more spiritual coaches, which are life coaches. And not all life coaches are spiritual either. But I think that is a specific niche. What's going on, Stacy? What's going on? What's going on, Siraj? What up, Rain King David? So these are the types of spaces that a coach might be in. So just take note of that and think about where you fall. So within those spaces, okay, there are different types of programs and products you can deliver. And if you saw, I believe it was yesterday's live stream, it could have been the day before that, I forget, there's so many of them now. We talked about productizing your service. And really all this is it's creating a service in a way where you are no longer doing custom work for all your clients. The more custom work you do, the harder it is for you to deliver a consistent quality product. So the idea here is that when you are even delivering a service like as a coach, you want to try to productize it in a way where people can select what type of product they want to get from you, select what type of product they want to work with you on. And so I've categorized 3 different types of products that a coach could sell. Okay, so let's go through them. The first product a coach can sell is a digital course. And this is essentially a, done with you, or no, this is do it yourself, okay? So do it yourself. So digital course. Everyone knows about digital courses. This is not a surprise. This is a form of coaching though, especially if you are a coach and you're selling this is a form of coaching. Remember, coaching is really it's really information transfer plus execution. That's the main idea around coaching. But let's talk about, first of all, what types of price points you can charge for these types of programs. And give me some hearts if you're watching in the chat box right now, if you're a coach. I want to know how many coaches are watching this. I know we have people coming in and out, but give me some hearts if you're a coach. So, for a digital course, what can you charge? Well, the first question to ask here is, what space are you in? People tend to pay less for, let's say, a course on fitness than they would pay for a course on making money. And that's the only reason for that is because the assumption behind a making money course is that you're going to make your money back and then some. So that's always a position that you can fall back on as someone who's in the make money space. This will make you money, therefore spending money is not as bad of a thing. But it doesn't mean that you can't also be at the absolute top of each one of these ends, no matter what space you're in. It's really about how you position yourself. So selling courses, courses can go anywhere from, $50 to $100, which would be a very, very low ticket, low price, potentially low value course, all the way to $3,000 plus, depending on what space it's in, what you're promising, what's actually in the program. There was a time when, because courses were still very new and there weren't as many providers, you could have a little bit more say on what you charge. And you, of course, obviously still can. But now there are a lot of comparisons that can be made. In 2012 and 13, when I started doing this stuff, there weren't as many online course platforms. There wasn't any teachable. These mass online courses were just coming into vogue. There weren't as many places to compare and to read reviews and to shop for different types of online information. Now, there are multiple courses on everything you could possibly want to learn. And so it's up to the customer to do the work to figure out who they want to purchase from. So It doesn't mean that you have to change your prices. You should price it how you want to price it, but you should take into consideration who else is in the market and what they're charging so that you can price in accordance. Whether you want to go higher or lower, you just need to know, what the range is in your market. So, you might sell an online course anywhere between $100 and $3,000, just depending on what you're selling, what the space is, and what you intend to offer. So pros of selling online courses. Now, online courses, when I say online course, I mean literally just like a back end that hosts videos and maybe has some PDFs and some other types of digital resources. So I'm talking about Teachable or Kajabi or ClickFunnels. These are all platforms that have back ends where you can store digital content. People can buy it from you. So pros of this, obviously the delivery is a huge pro of this. If you are selling online information and you can sell it where you have just a platform, people can buy it. It's very easy for you to deliver the information, and it makes it much simpler than it has been in the past, where before, when there wasn't as much, when there weren't as easy platforms, it was a little bit harder to get the information out. Now it's very easy to deliver the product, and this is why digital courses are truly productized. They've truly been productized. You can set up a course on Teachable today, and you can sell that thing for life until Teachable goes away, which I don't see it going away. And if you want to hear more about Teachable, I did a podcast episode with Ankur Nagpal, who is the CEO of Teachable. They're doing about $24 to $30 million a year right now, and he talked about his journey to getting there and everything that it included. You can check out the DiPiazza Show on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. It's on there. I don't know what episode it is, like episode 90 or 95, something like that. But Teachable is around. So pros, delivery is a lot easier than it's ever been. It's a lot easier to scale this thing, meaning that if you have a working system where where you're getting leads and they're finding your work and you're making content, you're doing social media, you have an email list, you're building that stuff up, you can send people to your sales page, you can have your course for sale, and if you're doing your job correctly, you'll get sales. I mean, it's not always easy, but you will get sales if you understand marketing, if you learn it, and if you do it right. And so scaling is a lot easier. So if you look at, for instance, Founder Magazine it started off first as an online publication, an eMag, a digital magazine in the Apple iTunes store, and then it became a course company, essentially a company that just made online courses, and they do all their stuff digitally. They sell all their stuff digitally, and because of that, they've been able to scale really well. Same thing with Mindvalley, who's a little bit further along the track than Founder. All digital courses. And I would say that for you, if you want to build a company that you can sell later and that you can truly scale, selling a digital course is probably the way to go. It has the least headaches in terms of managing it, and it can be, if you get it right, it can be hands-off. Now, there will still be customer support. There will still be times you need to upgrade the material. There will still be, sales page issues and tech issues. There will still be all that stuff. But in terms of you as the creator, if you can build it up, you can make it to where it's hands-off, and that's where it gets fun. So those are the pros. The cons of building an online course. Remember, we're talking about the 3 different types of coaching models. This first model is just selling information digitally. Okay? The cons of this. The success rate of students tends to be lower in these courses. And it's just because, you don't have as tight of a monitoring on the students. If you're selling 1,000 of these courses a year, what are the chances that people are going to succeed? They're not that high. For a few reasons. Because people, they impulse buy. People view buying a course as solving their problem. But the problem that they have and the reason why they bought the course is not solved just by purchasing the course. It's solved by doing whatever the program says to do, and most people don't finish the course. I know this because I've enrolled thousands of students in my courses when I was doing Rich 20-something, and I was running freelance domination, automatic funnel formula, front page formula, start up from the bottom, all these different programs, and brought thousands of students through these programs. And I can tell you just by looking at the back end software, most people don't even finish the program. In fact, there's a large percentage of people that buy the program, buy the course, and don't even open it. They don't even log in for the first time. So this can be frustrating as an educator, as a coach, as a course creator, because you you can't necessarily control, to a certain extent you can control student success, but there's a lot you can't control. And so whenever you see courses being advertised, they're only going to be advertising with their testimonials the people who are having the most success. But what they're not talking about is how many people are not completing the stuff, not doing the work, not having success. So that is a true downside to this. The other downside is that most courses suck. We're in a market now where trust is at an all-time low. Trust is at a low because there's an oversaturation of these programs, and most people have seen now that it's easier than ever to make a program, and so the quality bar is going down, and that is decreasing also the amount of trust that consumers in general have about courses. So you have to remember that, if you're just selling a course, and really anything you're selling online is it's harder to trust it than ever before. But especially with just a course, you really have to prove to people that you're doing what you say you can do. And it's not always easy to do that. And then the third con, and I could talk pros and cons all day, but one more con to talk about with these digital courses and this model is that it's a flooded market. What's up, Lubo? It's a flooded market. Back in 2012 when I was doing this, there were really only what were called MOOCs, massive open online courses, and like MIT X and Harvard and universities were doing it. And then it became like Coursera. And then there were like a few other different course platforms that were really big. And then it became really popular for individuals to start making their own online programs. And this is something that became very big in like 2014, 15, 16, 17. And then there's a bubble, and we still haven't necessarily reached the top of the bubble. It hasn't necessarily popped. People are still making their own courses and making money with it. But I think a lot of the specialness factor has gone away because there are so many courses now. It's not secret. It's not, no one is under the impression that you have some secret knowledge. Everyone knows that you can make your own program. And so with that, there's a specialness factor that has gone down because the market has flooded. And because the market's flooded, it just makes it a little bit harder to stand out. It's not impossible. And in fact, in some cases, a flooded market provides you with an opportunity to pivot and to show that you're different. But it is just a factor to consider. So pros, delivery method. So pros of just straight up online digital courses. Delivery method, scalability, and hands-off. The cons are success rates tends to be lower. Most of them suck. Trust is at an all-time low, and there's a flooded market. So that's the first model of coaching. Now, you might not call that coaching. I certainly call it coaching. Lots of coaches that I know run this model. What up, Manish? We got Coach Precious in the house here. By the way, Manish, check out the Slack I sent you. Sarah found that Amazon ad, and I was pissed off about it because that's something that we've been talking about. So, when we're talking about like the entire strata of different coaching methodologies, next piece of this puzzle is like a leverage group model. So this is, I think, what's become popular within the past 2 years. And group coaching has been a thing for a while. It's not new, but especially in the business space, and I think also in the fitness and health space, there's been an explosion in the number of group coaching programs that have just come onto the market. And I think the reason for this is partially because of the cons of the do-it-yourself online course model. I think that part of the problem is that we saw that online courses of themselves weren't getting the job done. So first of all, before I go any further, there are 3 elements that all coaches should be delivering to their clients. And whether you're selling an online course or you're working with someone one-on-one, you have to have all of these elements. Chris, I didn't get your question. Ask it again, please. So, you have to have 3 elements when creating a coaching program. You have to deliver new skills or train people to get new skills. Okay? Skills alone, though, aren't enough. After the skills, you need accountability. Okay? You need to make sure that people are doing what they say they're going to do. And of course, after that, you need mentorship. Mentorship is strategic planning, coaching, and brainstorming. Could also include networking. Skills, accountability, mentorship. Those are the 3 elements that make any coaching program successful. It can't just be information transfer. that's only a skill transfer, right? Without the accountability and the mentorship component, it doesn't work. So I believe that the group coaching model and the explosion that's happened over the past few years has been an effort to resolve these issues, because really when it comes down to it, the digital course model only handles the skill portion of this. So group coaching, leverage group coaching. What can you charge for this? Again, depends on the model, depends on the making model, depends on the space that you're in, depends on the positioning, depends on your credibility in the market. There's all these factors. But generally speaking, group coaching models have typically a time frame on them. So 90 days is a popular time frame for group coaching models, sometimes more, sometimes less. But it's usually done in either cohorts, which is individual groups going one at a time. Sometimes they overlap. Or it's also done in rolling cycles where people can join at any time. Now, I've also done group coaching programs. Profit Paradigm, which is our flagship program for agency owners, is a group coaching program. So group coaching programs you can sell them anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 or more. And there's no hard and fast rule for this. That's your positioning, your business decision, your market. You got to figure it out. Again, I would encourage you. And if you are a coach and you're trying to figure out how to price and position your programs, I'd encourage you to do the research, not only by looking at the websites of other coaches, but also getting on sales calls with people, posing as a potential client, and doing some research. You're going to need that information to know how they're selling and what they're pitching and what they're pricing themselves at. So you need that info. So anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000, depending. And you might think 10,000 is a lot of money for a group program, and maybe it is. But depending on what you're promising, if you're working in a program that's going to deliver you results that are money, then 10,000 might not be a lot. So in Profit Paradigm, we know that every student who comes in at least doubles the revenue within the first 90 days. And when I say everyone, 8 out of 10 of our clients in Profit Paradigm double the revenue in 90 days. It took us a year to get those stats and to get to that point to be able to make that clear promise. So the other 2 out of the 10 who don't make it double in 90 days end up doing it down the road using the material. So with that position, we can bring people into the program and say, well, you're making $15,000 a month now. We know based on our program that you're going to make $30,000 at the end of this if you follow the steps. So does that make sense with the investment of $12K, which is what Profit Paradigm is priced at? Now, if you're running a fitness coaching program, maybe $3K is the upper limit of what you can offer, and that's fine. But the idea is just to figure out your own model. So pros of the group coaching model. One, delivery is still fairly easy, because in the group coaching model, typically what you do is you'll still have a back end with program materials, just videos, just like in the standard do-it-yourself model where it's just a standalone program. But you'll also be doing, anywhere between, a call every other week up to several calls every week. So again, Profit Paradigm, we have calls on Mondays and Thursdays, so there will be an element of real live interaction with you or other coaches that you're hiring to bring some real human feedback to the material. And the idea is that these sessions are for holding people accountable, right? For holding people accountable to doing what it is that's actually in the program. So they should be watching the material, going through that on their own time, then being held accountable to doing what they say they're going to do, and also getting some of their questions answered on these calls. So delivery method is still relatively simple. Success rate goes way up in comparison to just the digital programs, because you have a closer eye on who's in the program, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. Your margin on this can be pretty good as well. Margins are great on digital courses as well if you can sell them right, but they're even better on a group program if you can really figure out the numbers. So if you're selling a program for $5,000, a group program, depending on how many people you have working on your team, if you're hiring a lot of coaches, it can get expensive. If you have a lot of software, it can get expensive. But generally speaking, it doesn't take too much more than if you're running just a digital course to run the program. So your margins in comparison will be pretty high. So if you're selling a program like for $5,000 to $10,000 and it's requiring a few hours of time a week of coaching, but it's in a way where you have most of the material being covered in a digital way, then you can kind of thread that needle and you can make very good margins on that, which is great. And so that's the benefit of group coaching. It's more bang for your buck. So cons of this. Cons of this are, I have another 3 down here. It does take more time, and when you're working with people, when you are in a group coaching scenario, you are going to have interaction with people, period. And it's going to take you more time. And I would say that although it still is a very smooth delivery process, it's going to take you more time than you think. In Profit Paradigm, how we do it is we do 2 calls a week with the group, and then I do 1 call a week, just individual with individual clients. And it's a rolling cycle, so not everyone's calling me I'm not talking to everyone individually every week, but there is an interaction where it's just one-on-one. And so between the group calls and the individual calls, it does start to be a lot. Now, of course, you can hire out for that, and there's ways you can make that less on you, but there is an element of it where now you're acquiring, physical manpower or woman power, human power to make this program run. And then you run into the issue of, I got to hire great people, because the lifeblood of a group coaching program is the coaches. It's the coaches and it's the community. Whereas in a digital program, there's a lot of stock put into how good is the actual course material. In a group coaching program, the question becomes how good is the community and how good are the coaches? Because really, if people wanted to just get the material, they would pay just for your digital course. They're signing up for a group coaching program because they want to be in the group, they want to be part of something, and they want your help. So you have to do well with that, and it's not always easy to find great people to help you with that. It's challenging, especially if you're the expert. You got to find other people who can be as good as you, or who you think can at least do an adequate job of handling that. It's not always easy. Another issue is enrollment cadence. So figuring out the line between should you do a cohort style where you do essentially a launch, and maybe if it's a 90-day program cycle, every 90 days you're doing a launch. That has its benefits because then you're focused on one group at a time for that period of time, and then you move on to the next group. The drawback to that is that you have to launch multiple times a year, and launches are stressful and can be annoying. Then the next piece of this is, well, maybe you don't do a cohort model, maybe you do a rolling model where people can join at any time. Now, if that's the case, then people are kind of coming in at different stages, and there can be some overlap with people, but sometimes there can be a little bit of confusion. It creates more moving parts. It's a little bit less clear about when things start and when things stop. And so I think that there's a model, there's pluses and minuses to each model. So for instance, if you look at Alt MBA, which is essentially a group coaching program run by Seth Godin, that is a cohort style group coaching program. And I think it's $3,000. They run it a few times a year, and you go through with a certain group. And because of that group coaching model, or that cohort model, you can have hard start and stop dates on it, and it creates some anticipation around wanting to get in that program. If you don't have that, you don't have the same tool to say, okay, this program is starting January 11th, get in before then, because really if it's rolling, it's always open. But the plus side to rolling admissions is that you can always be making money. If the program isn't open, all year round, you can only make sales in a smaller window, or you can take people on the waiting list, but it gets more complicated. So there are issues to think about there. The next thing is, as a con, sometimes it's hard to find your ideal client for group coaching programs because depending on what people need, they might want to join your program, but they're not the best fit for it. So I know in Profit Paradigm, for instance, we specifically work with high-level freelancers, agency owners, consultants. And we will get coaches who come to us for this program, and they'll want to be a part of it. And is it useful? Can it help them? Yes, there are definitely elements that would help. Definitely elements. But it's not designed for them. So if they sign up for it, they might not be served in the way they need to be served, which even if the program is great, they might not get as much out of it as they want. And so we're wary of that, and we don't typically let coaches sign up for the program. We have had a few, and they've worked out well, but we realize they're not our ideal fit. And sometimes as the business owner, as you as the coach, it's like, well, I want to sell, but you're not a perfect fit. Should I still sell to you? And we found the answer is no, but it can be discouraging because you might have people who aren't a good fit who want to still do the program, and you have to tell them, hey, you're not a good fit for this. And they're thinking, oh, well, I just need group coaching. And you're like, well, you're not a fit. So like, same thing with e-commerce people. E-commerce is completely not our wheelhouse, so we wouldn't accept people who can do e-commerce. And the rookie mistake to this is just accepting everybody, because when you accept everybody and everyone's at a different stage and doing a different business, they're not going to be successful. Because it should be the program that you make, no matter if you're coaching health and fitness or beauty or love, sex, relationships or money or manifestation. You should have a specific client that you have in mind, an avatar. And that client should be the only person that you accept in the program. The further you go away from that person, that type of person, the harder it is for them to get results with the material, because the material should be designed for a specific person. And when they don't get results, your program isn't doing well. The reason why we had so much success in 2019 with Profit Paradigm is because we were very picky in who we selected. It's like picking the best people on the kickball team. When you pick people who are already in the right space and who are already primed to succeed, but your help will make them do even that much better, it makes you as a company and as a coach look great, and it makes them look great. So when you're not aligned, it doesn't work, then everyone suffers. So that's group coaching. Pros are delivery is pretty easy, the success rate goes way up, and the margins are great. The cons are, it does take a lot more time. There's the enrollment cadence issue between rolling and static, rolling and launch mode. And there's also like finding the ideal clients can be an issue. So those are two models of coaching. You have digital coaching, or you have digital online programs. You have group and leverage coaching. What's the third model? AIC Mindset say, can you have multiple launches of different programs tailored to different programs or avatars? Yes, you can, but depending on how big your audience is, like your audience will typically be a pretty specific type of person. Typically speaking, you're not going to have tons of different avatars in your audience, or you might not have tons of different people in your audience. What you might have is you might have levels of the same basic avatar. So like, I work with coaches, consultants, online marketers, and brands. Okay, I don't work with e-commerce. I don't work with drop shippers. I don't work with, like professionals, doctors, lawyers, engineers, to grow their business necessarily. And so I might have three different types of marketers. One who's 0 to 10, one who's 10 to 50K a month, and one who's 50K plus. Those are three types of marketer, and they might have three different problems, but they're all related in the same industry. That's a different, and those will require different programs or different products. That's different than saying, I'm going to open up a product for consultants, I'm going to open up a product for e-commerce salespeople, and I'm going to open up a product to teach lawyers how to get more leads. Three different types of clients. Now, at some point, you might decide you want to build a company like Founder, and Founder has many different products for different types of people. But within an individual coaching series of offers, typically it's not like that. So I wouldn't do too many offers at once and have too many different avatars you're focusing on. I would focus on the one type of client that you have the most of and build a program around them and perfect that. So good question. So DIY digital courses, leverage group programs, and last one is one-on-one coaching, one-on-one mentorship. And again, if you guys want to learn more about this stuff, this is what I do. So if you're watching this right now and this is interesting to you and you're like, oh man, I could use help with this, yeah, I can help. Like, this is what I've been working with clients on for 10 years. You can DM me at DiPiazza on Instagram if you want to learn more about my elite coaching program, which is my elite mentorship program. You can go to alphamentorship.com/elite. You can also check the link in my IG bio. So that's where you can find that information at. And of course, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, or you're watching this as a replay, that link will still be up. In the last year, all my private clients combined brought in an additional $1.5 million. So it's working. And hopefully, as I go through this information, like, I don't have to show you that my book is in 3 languages. I don't have to show you, screenshots of money. Like, you're seeing the information is here. So you know that I can do what it is that I say I can do. So last type of coaching model is one-on-one. Okay. So one-on-one, the price on this is whatever you want it to be for the most part, because it's your time. If you're the coach, it's your time. Again, similar to the group coaching model, you're going to have a set time frame for how long you work with somebody. And it could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. I would recommend that you can sign people for as long as you want. But I often find that if you set shorter time frames of 3 to 6 months, it's better than a year if you don't know the person, if it's a new engagement. When you're first getting to know someone, you want to have some time to evaluate the relationship. And sometimes if you sign a year contract right off the bat, it can be too long, and it can be not the right fit for you. So what can you charge? You can charge depending on your time frame. You can charge anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 to plus. I mean, I've charged upwards of $40,000 to work with me one-on-one, and people readily pay that. And I know that Tony Robbins does his platinum partnership, and it's $150,000 a year, and that doesn't even include travel and all that stuff. So there's levels to this game. I'm sure there are people, and I know for Tony Robbins, and I actually think the platinum partnership is his group coaching program. It's not even one-on-one. To work with Tony, it's like $1 million a year, and I don't really even think he does that regularly now. But even that is there are levels to the game. You can charge what you want, but you'll know how the market responds as you start pitching that price. And of course, it's a lot of confidence in positioning. So pros of this, obviously it's the relationship. As you go from digital course through leverage program to one-on-one, obviously you're going to build a much stronger relationship with someone when you're working with them one-on-one. I know that I've built really good relationships with my one-on-one clients. I've done everything from overseas journeys with my one-on-one clients to ayahuasca journeys, to hooking them up with some extremely important resources for them, from helping them to get other clients and close other clients, to making introductions, to helping them get on stages and get in publications. Like, when I'm working one-on-one with somebody, I can do that because I'm being very selective about who I work with. I only work with people that I want to have a relationship with. And when there's that level of trust, we can really get work done. So the relationship is at an all-time high. You're going to have most likely your highest margins here because you're not going to employ any other team members to work with you on this. It's your client. So for the most part, your margin should be pretty low. I'll say this to you too, as having experienced this in the past, if you're running a company, don't use your personal coaching money to fund a company. Don't do that. That's a mistake. If you're running a company with multiple employees and your only product is one-on-one coaching, fire everybody, take it back to basics, keep the money that you're making from one-on-one coaching, and develop other products that can support your company. Because the last thing you want to do is support a company with just your individual efforts. That's not a company then. That is a hustle. And if you're going to be hustling, you might as well keep most or all the money for yourself. So remember that. But you should have your highest margins with one-on-one coaching. You should also be having your highest level of satisfaction. If you don't like your individual clients, it won't work. You have to pick people that you like, and you have to help them to get results that they actually want. Another mistake that I've made in the past is not being heavily involved in the screening process of my own one-on-one clients. So when you are selling your one-on-one coaching services, you should be the one taking the sales calls. You should be the one taking the screening. I mean, you can have your team help you to screen out answers, but you should be the one getting on the sales calls, at least on a closing call, if not, a discovery call and a closing call. Now, I know you might say, well, I want my sales team to do it, and that's cool, but since you're going to be the one working with them, you need to get a feel for their personality, a feel for what they like, what they don't like, a feel for if they're going to be a good fit, because only you know what you can offer somebody. Your sales team, at the end of the day, their motivation is to make money, and that's perfect because that's what you need from them. But if their only motivation is to make money and they don't need to work with anybody after that, sometimes it can cause problems because you'll end up signing people that you'll end up having your sales team sign people for you to work with, and then you won't always feel like they're the best fit. And maybe you would have had a different conversation with them if you talked to them sooner, right? So what's up, Toot? Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hey, in Oman, what's going on? So that's just a thought to have. AIC says, where do you find more value from a monetization standpoint, group or one versus one? What's the better model for scale? Well, for scale, group. For margins, one-on-one. Yeah, that's the answer, So those are the pluses of one-on-one. The cons are obviously time. There's only so many people that you can work with at a time. You can determine your own bandwidth, but just know that the more people you work with, the more your bandwidth goes down, the more the quality of your attention goes down. And that's not good because everybody feels that. I've had situations where I've had 15 one-on-one clients because I got greedy, and the quality goes down. The quality goes down when you're working with that many people at once. That's why now, coming into 2020, I'm going to work with a handful of people, 3 to 5, keeping it light. I'm getting on phone calls. I'm identifying people that I like, and, we're finding the right fit. And it's not about taking the most numbers of people. It's about finding the right people. And you can do that when you're charging the right amount of money. And so a big con is your time. Because you don't want to underestimate the time you're going to have to put in to help someone one-on-one. And if they're paying you, especially if this is at the higher end of the price tier, you want to be delivering them that value. That's another thing you got to remember. You have to think about the value exchange that you're giving people. If you're charging someone $50K to work with you, that's not a problem. But you have to think about what their expectations are for that $50K, what you're giving in return, what they've been promised, what they expect, and what you're delivering. And oftentimes, one-on-one coaches are so happy to just sell that they haven't considered the fact that oftentimes when people exchange that money, when people exchange their hard-earned money to work with you one-on-one, they're expecting a lot from you, especially if it's a more expensive program. If it's 50 grand, people are expecting you to really solve their problem. They're really expecting you to solve their problem, unless you make it clear that it's still on them. And of course, I've made this mistake as well. When I accept money from people and they see that exchange as an indication or a signal that I'm going to solve all their problems, that's an issue. Because at the end of the day, a one-on-one mentor, even if they're working with you on a daily basis, can't solve your problems. They can only help you to see where your problems are and give you the push in the right direction. And working with someone one-on-one is going to give you more clarity. It's going to get you there faster. It's going to give you a better relationship, more access to resources. Overall, it's a great move, and I've loved working with people one-on-one as a coach and as a client for my own coaches. But it still is it's the client doing the work. It's the client solving their own problems. So just remember that when you're selling your coaching programs, the client still needs to be taking responsibility and onus for solving the problem. And there's no amount of money that they can pay. I can pay Tony Robbins 100 grand or $1 million, and he won't solve my problem. What solves the problem is exchanging the money and feeling that there is, now that they have skin in the game, they're more motivated to do the work. That is, if anything, the most helpful. Eamon says, I'm building a new service offer, thinking about doing a 10 to 15K per month offer for dentists or plastic surgeons. Thoughts? yeah, I'd have to see the offer. You can feel free to DM me and I can give you more feedback. In fact, if you want, Eamon, I can put you on live stream right now. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can put you on here. This is the first time I've done this on a Zadvice and Coffee, so if you can pick up, and we can work through your offer. Oh, you declined. Rejected. Well, send me a DM with your questions and I'm happy to answer it. Yep, you're driving, no worries. And why are you texting and driving? Don't do that. So yeah, there's lots of options for this, so we'll go through it. Again, coaches, consultants, 3 models. Whatever model you're choosing, remember that your clients need 3 things from you. They need skills, they need accountability, they need mentorship, okay? If you can provide all 3 of those, they'll transform. Information is not enough to transform, okay? You need skills, accountability, and mentorship to transform. When you can teach them something new, make sure that they do it, and coach them through the hard parts, they'll win. Any one of those that misses, you'll miss. So 3 models: do it yourself, which is like digital courses, group programs or leverage group programs, and one-on-one. All 3 of them have the pros and cons. All 3 of them can be very, very lucrative if you do it right. All 3 of them have their drawbacks if you're not paying attention to the signals and signs. That's what I got for you. Hope you enjoyed that. That was a pretty deep dive of how coaching goes in the real world. Hope you like those practical examples as well. I'm getting a lot of great feedback on these, just shows consistency. I haven't been very consistent on social, like really, really consistent in a while. So I'm resolving that now by getting on here almost every day and doing these. And now I'm starting to get great feedback in the DMs. I'm starting to get great feedback on the videos on YouTube. People are loving this stuff. So if you have any more questions about this and you want me to answer something specifically, you can just DM me here on Instagram at DiPiazza, whether you're watching this on the replay or live. And also, if you want to work with me individually to work on your business, to implement the things I've been talking about today or in the other Zadvice and Coffees, well, we might be a good fit. So alphamentorship.com/elite to learn more about working with me, how I work with online marketers, influencers, brands, and service providers to completely crush it. You can see what I've done and see how it's worked for my clients. And if you are a good fit, you can absolutely apply there. If you want more info on that, you can also just DM me on Instagram as well. I'll be posting this on IGTV when it's done downloading. I'll be putting this on YouTube and Facebook. And I'll also be sending this out on my newsletter. So if you're not on that, you can go to alphamentorship.com/sign up. And you can sign up for my free newsletter, which I send out every single day with something thoughtful and some new content I've been putting out. So enjoy that. Much love, guys. I appreciate all the feedback, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.